Great game. I'm sticking with it.
It was a huge week for portable retro consoles. So there was the analog, which actually plays like physical ones, came out
Yeah.
with like transparent, like beautiful devices. And why you
Just,
laugh?
just back in the 90s. We're back in the 90s again, right? Like the transparent, translucent stuff.
What you need is the purple. Sorry, what you need is like the gray one that eventually fades into like off yellow.
Yeah, yeah. That
That's
gives you that feeling, right?
that's true. That's true retro.
Yeah.
But then there's 4 or 5 new like retro hand like much like the retro arc thing that I purchased, the handheld one.
Right.
Like 10 more of those guys came out this week, like in all varying shapes and like abilities. I think they're up to like GameCube now. So it's like the same form factor I have, except they can play GameCube games.
Okay. All right.
It's getting there.
It's getting there, right? Like they're only, a few generations behind, but
Yeah. And it's $100 though, and it's like you just have every game of your childhood/teens now in your pocket.
right. And you play it for, 30 minutes
A
and you're like,
week.
that's why.
Oh yeah, I have moved on. I forgot.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Back into space. All right, let's get this show on the road because we are live on the platforms, live everywhere in the world, and we are ready to go. The adult beverages are poured. The kids are asleep. Welcome to New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old.
And then Jeff, I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old.
In this show, we look to show that just because you became a dad.
Does not mean it's game over.
That is right. And speaking of dads, speaking of games, speaking of dadding while gaming, I need some dad advice.
Oh,
Good. I'll first put
okay.
it out. I'll first put it out to you, Jeff. I'll also put it out to the audience. Love interacting with the fans. Do find us on Twitter at New Dad Gaming or on our website, newdadgaming.com. If you have a suggestion for this, I'd love to hear it. My kids are getting manipulative.
Oh, okay. We're in this phase. All right. All right.
In a
Talk to
good way,
me.
though. They're learning to like juke and jive a little bit and sort of figure out, okay, well maybe if we do this, we could do some of that. And they're starting to like put those pieces together, right?
Right.
Spearheaded, of course, by my oldest. Now, their current angle is, Dad, we want to play Minecraft during the week. We want to play some games during the week. Currently, we shut that off. No games, only on the weekends, just to focus on schoolwork. Now, Minecraft, they know, and this is the best part. This is where you look at your kid, and it's like, you a little something, like you, because they know that I have a soft spot for Minecraft as far as all of the games go, because it is adjacent to educational content.
Right. Okay. Yep.
Right, like you can build things, like you're crafting things, you're using imagination, like there's a creative element to it that sort of works
Getting there.
with me.
Yeah.
You're right. We're not just like jumping around in like Greek fantasy land, like fighting gods and emperors. We're like creating inside of a place. Okay. So their ask is like, what can we do so that we can play some Minecraft during the week, during the school week? And it's like,
Okay.
and that's where and here comes the advice. So Jeff, what can they do during the week so they can earn some Minecraft?
That's funny that they're trying to, hey, how do we gain favor with Trevor to allow us to play some Minecraft?
Dad, we want to learn about space and Elite
Yeah.
Dangerous.
Oh,
Stuff.
that would be the right to your heart. What? Okay, son.
That's one of my most beloved. Oh, okay. I know they don't watch this show, but legitimately, if they ask me, look, Dad, just want an hour a day. Let's all, as a family, hop in a spaceship and just fly across an Elite Dangerous. Can we, Dad? It's like, oh, come along, son. Hop on my Cobra. Let's do this.
Exactly. Straight to your heart. That's it. Done.
So
Over. Maybe they do listen to this show, and this is
better
how
not.
they're pulling it over on you.
they know how to work the smart devices in the home, so they might. Okay, get that out of the way.
Okay.
Enough of that nonsense, Jeff. Straight goods. Like what is it? What opportunity do I have for them to earn some game time?
Okay, so from my perspective, my kids game all week, so I'm not the best point of contact right now.
Okay.
But back in the day when they were younger, They would do like a sheet or two of those educational books. So it's like practice your printing and
We
like
have that.
solve a puzzle. And then once they showed that or put the effort in to at least complete a couple of those, they would earn their game time, and that would be it. Great, right? Like that's they get something out of it, you get something out of it, and then they get the
Win-win.
reward. Perfect. That lasted not very long, Trevor. So just to
second
give you the
week.
heads up. It's either they get tired of it and they just whine about it that they have to do these things, or they manipulate and they pick the easiest pages out of the book because they just needed to pick 2 pages out of the entire book.
right.
So they would do something that was very like practice your eyes. I'm like, come on, you can't. And we got tired of kind of policing it. So like after maybe a month, it was like game over. So if you want like a month's term to maybe get into a routine.
So that is interesting because we're real on this show. We're honest on this show, and
Right.
one of the downsides of this certainly would be is that increases my workload. I'm not looking for homework, but if they do more homework, that means I have to do more homework.
Yeah.
So I am curious about it'd be something to try, but that's very good. That's like, okay, be aware of this. Other things I had thought about was a reinforcement of physical activity.
Okay.
So my son has really taken to soccer. Well, so one is soccer, the other one's baseball, which baseball came out of absolutely nowhere, and he was just Babe Ruthing it. It was pretty. I was pretty impressed. Where do you get these skills? Like this
Picked him off the street, Dad. Don't
Yeah,
worry
okay.
about it.
Playing stickball with my boys. Like, all right. Anyway, so again, that was one of my head turning. It's like, all right, fine. Go to the park, like 30 minutes of practice. Like you, like tee up the ball, like practice, like hitting that for like 30 minutes. You dribble, do some activity. Now, this is something that they ask me to come and do sports with them on the weekends sometimes, which is one of my favorite. I love doing it. Like it's absolutely fun, a blast. But I do think in this case it'd be maybe I'm working or just preparing dinner or something. All right, to the park, like 30 minutes, kind of an honor system, I figure, just so like kind of to lessen
Right.
our workload. Well, because otherwise,
Yeah.
again, it's like if
What are you gonna
I'm
do?
practicing soccer 30 days a week, 30 minutes a day, like again, we've just kind of we've breached the
Yeah.
purpose of this.
Yeah.
So I'd thought about the physical part of it. I don't know if like that kind of holds water for you. Is that like a decent angle?
I think that could work. And again, this is all when I was doing this with my younger kids. Again, they're older, so it's like game over there. But when I was younger, we hadn't reached COVID levels of remote work. So they had aftercare programs. So by the time they got home and we got, in the door, it was 5:30. And then we have to cook supper. And they're going to bed at 8 o'clock at that age. So we just said, again, in the beginning, that homework sheet, maybe you do the park or something, but like, you know what? You've had a long day. Here you go. But if you had the time, if they're getting home at 3:30 at the end of school day or whatever, and the sun is still out, like I know it's getting close to winter, so maybe the park will be gone in a month, but
Yeah.
or some other thing in the basement that they can practice something. But
Okay, yeah.
just keep that in mind.
It's an interesting dynamic you mentioned because and I suppose like other dads would relate to this, but last year because of COVID, our after school care had disintegrated, and they did
Yeah.
it. They just didn't bring it back post COVID. They just like, nope, we're not gonna. I kind of like not doing it, so you're not getting it.
You know what? We kind of like not having kids here. So
So in the case, they were like last year, they were arriving at home like 2:30. So it's just like, okay, that would have been better timing to do it. Now at this point, they did bring back aftercare at this point,
Okay.
and they go directly from school there, and now we pick them up like 5. So much like yourself, it's like 5:30, and the sensitivity I do have is that we've watched them at the program, just that we got kind of like a sense of it. Like it is hands on. Like they're doing some coloring, they're doing some sheets, they're
Okay.
running around, they go to the park. Like in fact, the place they're at has a pool and a skating rink.
oh
Which
wow,
they also-
oh my god, you're like living it up. Yeah.
So even now that I can discuss, you know what, the physical part of it, that's a big day. So they went to school, they had recess, they
Right.
played for like 2.5 hours at this aftercare. Maybe the physicality part, maybe the
Yeah.
physical part of it isn't necessarily a winner.
Yeah, like you want them to kind of come down and decompress too, right? And have a
exactly.
like I don't know. It's kind of up to you to feel it out, but maybe it's not 30 minutes. Maybe it's just hey, do something like maybe clean up your room first, and then you can do something, or like a
actual
small
chores.
chore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So this is some good angles. So if the scenario was different, physical, like exercise sounds good. Homework or like just math sheets or like something academic or helping out around the house, doing some
Yeah.
chores. Things like that.
Win, win, win.
Win-win. Everybody's got some angles. Very good. Thank you for the advice, Jeff. Gaming Dad's listening. Do you have any other advice you want to throw my way? Anything you're doing in your house that worked really well, or disasters that didn't work? Let us know. newdadgaming.com or at newdadgaming. Exciting. Somebody had been doing their homework, and specifically Blizzard, with trying to...
Can we just hold on this transition? That was amazing. I love it.
It started rocky, but then I found a thread, and I
went
weaved
for
a beautiful dad sweater out of
I
it.
love it. Yes.
Anyway, okay. Anyway, so the Blizzard's been doing their homework. They've been listening to the community. They had a live stream as we are recording, just like today. On the last show, we had actually mentioned Diablo 4 kind of fell off a cliff. Like, things weren't great. So, and the two markers of which we put it on. Now, I dropped a game in favor of Starfield, not for any upset reason. It's just like, all right, this has been great. I enjoyed it, but now I'm going to play Starfield. So my not playing it wasn't a vote one way or the other. But the two numbers that we did use to quantify this, the fact that Diablo 4 seems to have fallen off a bit, was the Twitch numbers were dismal. Nobody was streaming this game. So you're supposed to have all of this seasonal content, all this end game content, and Diablo 2 was like 5 times what Diablo 4 was. So everybody had jumped back to like the couple decades old game instead. In addition, I joined the Diablo 4 Reddit, and just the tone, unbelievably negative. People were really upset. Enter into Blizzard. Okay, so now they just had this big event and announced it. For the purpose of this show, I went to Reddit and tried. I'll bring up one of the posts that kind of discuss what they talk about. And listen to this hot nonsense. See, I would like to know if anybody in the crowd even understands what the heck is coming out of my mouth. So, high points and low points from the stream, Season 2, post from Reddit. Rogue Exiles like PoE are coming to D4, unclear when they drop. Loot Explosion or craftable currency. Like PoE, there's now endgame boss farm tracks. Hell Tides get you currency to summon Gringor. Whispers get you currency to summon Varshan. Nightmare Dungeons get you currency to summon Beasts Below. Specific cosmetic and unique loot items. There's also some kind of hunter's board we can turn into currency for specific. It just, what is this? Like, I've caught nothing. The best part is, like, I first read it, and it's like PoE. Like, I read it as Poe,
right?
As in like. Do you mean the Kung Fu Panda, like Poe? Like, is this the epic crossover we're having? Like,
Kung Fu Gaming Dad coming out there, yeah.
But you came to connect the dots. That's actually Path of Exile.
I hoped it was, and I think it is. Right? I think that's where we came to the conclusion. So
anyway, so my intention was, okay, I'll read this and we'll be able to like see it. I got no goddamn idea.
No.
What the updates? What I can say though, much like the previous one, is the conversation around it on the Reddit is cautiously optimistic. A lot from the summations that I'm reading, it's like, and literally, like, that's some of the posts is like, guys, I'm cautiously optimistic that this is going to be fun again. So you have started to see the turns. Like, okay, I like what they announced. I'm kind of excited for it. We'll see when it comes out. I'm hopeful, which I think is good.
Yeah, I think that's good too. It's kind of that same Blizzard roller coaster, right? They launch everything to great fanfare. Something's wrong in it. And then all of a sudden it's turned into like this underdog that can come back again. People are like, let's do it. Diablo 4 lives.
The best part, like, I remember that as punishment for Diablo 4, and it just speaks to the kind of silly nature of gamers in a way. As punishment for Diablo 4, folks were going back to Diablo 3. And they're like, yeah, you see this? Like, this is a good game. What are you, a goldfish? Like, do you not remember
how awful that launch was?
When Diablo 3 came out, how angry you all were. It's like Diablo 3 coming out was just like an abhorrent nightmare fuel. Like everybody right? Like everyone hated it. But over the course of, I think they're on season 28, they tuned it on up. So it's kind of weird to see them be so angry at this, so viscerally angry.
Yeah.
Just completely forgetting the history of like, hey guys, it came out and the launch, like the game was pretty fun. It's like, but the end game content, all right, it kind of sucked. Fine. This is the first season. They're gonna have a new, like, make your complaints. It's good. It's probably, hey, don't worry, it gets better.
I think they need that voice in their ear from you. Just as like a gaming dad. Oh, don't worry, it'll get better. I've been here before. Listen to old dad Trevor.
Yeah, grab a spot on my knee there, little man. Let's discuss this. Okay.
Let's
discuss disappointment in life, son.
Back in Diablo 3, there was a marketplace, and there it was horrible. Yeah.
Anywho, great to see. Excited for it. Like I'm not sure. I don't know if I can jump into season 2. I'm nowhere close on Starfield, like completing it, and I'm still enjoying it very much. Hey, quick plug. Thanks everybody for joining me on the live stream. We had a few listeners, gained a few followers. If you want to look me up, New Dad Gaming Podcast on Twitch. I'm trying to do it weekly. Would like to even increase it to more as time becomes available. So do check us out. And hey, thanks everybody who'd checked us out. It would be up to you to stream Cyberpunk 2077. I have not purchased it, but I seem kind of tempted. Again, and talk about redemption story. This was a hot mess on launch.
Hot mess.
A disgusting hot mess, but they released a bunch of patches. It looks good, and this new DLC, which I don't think you have, but the patches are fantastic. Fixes the core game good. And now this DLC came out, and it's receiving rave reviews.
Yeah, this is one I didn't think I'd go back to because of the hot mess. That it was so bad that the PlayStation Store took it off completely.
That's amazing.
So, but as being a gaming dad, I smelled a good deal and bought it at a low price at that time and just didn't touch it. Much like a lot of my backlog games, it's not hard to do.
I'll just put you beside all. Meet your brothers. Like that, I'll also never touch.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of turned my brain off from it, and then this new update came out, and they've totally redone the system. People are saying, singing the praises, like, "Hey, this is what the game should have launched with. It's finally baked. There's something here that is good. You should go back in and experience it." So I loaded it up, and I will say, again, I didn't really play what came out. I played a trial at some point, but didn't really get into it. Didn't really touch all the features and what to do in it. And yeah, it's a well put together game. It's not glitching out. You're not going through walls. There's things that make sense. It is good. What I will say though, at my age now, I am discovering I don't like these big open worlds.
It's too big.
It's too big. I get too lost. So there's just so much going on. I am maybe 12 hours into the game, and you have this cell phone that you have. I'm like, oh, great. Give me a digital cell phone. That's all I need, right? I am used to Witcher, where Witcher was offline. Geralt didn't have a cell phone. You ran by quests, and you could help him if you wanted by the screaming people. This one, you get cell phone calls all the time and emails and text messages.
No, seriously?
I have 3 screens full of I don't know what's a conversation anymore. I don't know what a quest is. It's always asking me to track a new quest when I'm mid-quest of another quest. And I'm like, what am I doing? There's too much here. And maybe that's part of being in the cyberpunk world, right? You're just overwhelmed by data and information. They're trying to drive you crazy.
So in this version of the future, they have not figured out non-work hour emails. Is what you're saying?
24/7. You live on the grid, man. You're accessible all day. Every day.
You have just the device. You have the BlackBerry inserted into your brain.
It's
just constantly streaming.
Yeah, you have all those visual, robotics in your skull. So
fetch quests aside and crazy nonsense like that. This is fun. This is a dad recommendation. This is a fun one to get into.
I say anybody give it a second shot. If you tried it, bounced, definitely go back in. There's a lot that's been fixed. I do find it very fluid. I'm not used to it's all first person too, right? So I'm not really used to that either. But once you like start unlocking abilities, it makes you feel more powerful. So you can like parkour up buildings and all sorts of stuff. It's crazy fun. It's just it throws a lot at you at first, so you have to kind of process that. But definitely like this is a totally different game than when I saw previously.
Okay, so currently still full price. So
I do not recommend purchasing it at full price at all. This was, I think I paid like $19.99. You remember my magic number, which is $29.99?
Yep.
This was lower than that, so I bought it to understand where it was going to be. Hopefully, like it was an investment. So I wouldn't buy it at full price. I would wait. Definitely wait for a good sale.
So you bought low, played high.
That's right. Yeah.
Very good. All right, so the recommendation. I would be interested in stepping into it. Like I've obviously seen a bunch of videos of it. It looks like a cool world. I don't want to say it's different than Starfield, of course, but in some ways it has that kind of Bethesda feel, as far as a lot of interactable objects and like multi quests and branching story. You know what I mean? Like there is a literally when I just right now live on stream, I checked the Steam page to see how much does it cost.
Yeah.
And it said, "Hey, you played Fallout 4. You might enjoy this game."
Oh, well, yeah, there
right?
you go.
So like there's those crossing. For that reason, I think I'm going to be a little bit tired of such a game once I get done with Starfield. But
Yeah.
okay, good to know. It's a nice redemption story.
I think so.
We can only hope for such a Cinderella story for Diablo 4 as well. Okay,
That's right. Yeah.
Did want to mention it. A dream of mine would be to stream such games to a 100-foot tall projector screen over top of a waterfall.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And virtual reality could do such a thing. And some of the announcements with the Quest 3 just came out.
Okay.
New to launch device, and one of the most notable things for myself was we'll talk about the device for a second, but the segue was they announced that Xbox game streaming was going to be native for the Quest 3.
That's interesting.
Which is just like damn, like come on, like I own the Quest 2. I don't want to buy another one. I don't know what on earth I could sell my Quest 2 for. Like, it's probably like 150 at this point or 200. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to be going for much. And while to speak of the rest of it, slightly more comfortable, slightly more powerful. It has good pass-through mode. So if you've ever put on a Quest, have you ever put on a Quest 2 headset?
I don't think I have, to be honest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You would appreciate that. For any gaming dad who hasn't, it's I was gonna say, like, well, obviously you've tried a PSVR. It's like just like
Obviously, that's where we're coming from. Yeah.
Given the sales number, no, it didn't.
Right.
The biggest jump for me was like the PSVR was amazing. Like the first like foray into it, but it was a camera. It was this big, like massive, bulky helmet. It was cables flying everywhere. It was set up. It was like complexity, just like complexity unbound, but the technology was there. The Quest 2, when I first put it on, it is just the face thing. You just take this little white box, you slam it on your eyes, you're in VR, and it's quite good. Like that'd be the way to put it. It's like, wow, this is like really fun. This is interesting. The Quest 3, it's about the same weight. It's about the same size. There's not any real benefits there. But what they have is pass-through. So on the Quest 2, you could do pass-through. You could like tap it. You'd be able to see the room. But it's like this grainy black and white. Really kind of hard to see. The Quest 3 has almost... Some of the reviewers said they actually forgot they were wearing the helmet.
Oh.
Or it was just like... It wasn't... It's like, it's like I forget entirely that I have. I just mean like it's closer to the fact, like to that reality. Where the pass-through is good enough that... you could be forgiven for getting like, that's right, I'm part of the VR. So in doing this game streaming, you could be in your room looking all around. You could see little Timmy pulling on the TV cables, and you can run over and stop it before it falls on him.
Yeah.
But it's just like slightly more. So the pass-through is really impressive. The graphics and everything are well improved, and it makes for an interesting one. I cannot justify the upgrade. Well, it all sounds neat. It's just sort of like if they come out with, it's like you change if you bought the base level Steam Deck. There's like the actual base level,
Yeah.
and then they have like the upgraded one. It would be you going from the base level to the upgraded one.
Okay.
A ridiculous financial prospect, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but let me throw a scenario at you.
Damn it, Jeff. No. My wallet can't take it, Jeff. No, sir.
Do the Quest 2 and Quest 3, like, can they talk to each other in a game? Like, could you pass down the Quest 2 to your kids, let's say? I'm not saying you're going to,
Yes,
but could they be in the same game, like a 2-player game with you? I played
Yes.
Gorilla Tag, or what do my kids talk about? I don't know. I think it's Gorilla Tag is all the rage
Gorilla
now.
Tag, yeah.
Yeah. But if that's something like, hey, okay, this is just a second controller. It's just as much as my mortgage payment. Like, it's just
So what's happening here is I'm buying my kids a Quest 3. By what I mean, I'm buying myself a Quest 3 so that my kids can have a Quest 3.
exactly so they can grow up in VR and understand.
It's one of my favorite tweets of all time for iPhones that get released.
Yeah.
It's like, hey everybody, just announced the iPhone 15. Hey, all the world's girlfriends, congratulations on your new iPhone 14.
Yeah. Exactly.
We're all just gonna move one to the left.
Yep.
Anyways, it could. So if you had other VR gamers, that would certainly be an angle.
Okay.
I absolutely am not having my kids in VR. It is not
Okay.
meant for the kids of that age. I'm trying to remember what the actual age you're supposed to be allow them to.
I remember asking the actual optometrist, and they just said as long as it's moderation, the companies can't do below 12 for liability of the like your operating equipment. You're going to slam into a wall. Maybe they can get
Right.
a lawsuit against them. But if you're in hours in this thing, it's going to screw up your eyes as they grow. Just as anything would if you're that close to something and your eyes aren't getting a rest because they're not focusing. Anyway, that's how it was explained to me. I'm not trying to get your kids into VR. I'm just proposing
Poor kids, Jeff.
a hypothetical situation because, like, I've had my kids test out the PSVR, and like now my 13-year-old, like, their friends have VRs, and that's what they do. They go over and play VR all the time. But
Okay.
throwing it out there.
I got you. If anything else, I've been such a fan of VR, and much like on this show, right? Like we were both owners, like
Yep.
tragic owners of PSVRs,
That's right.
and then we moved to, and the promise of it was fantastic. The execution of it was difficult. Like it made it really kind of tricky to really have it all the time. What I was the most excited about the Quest 2 is like just how friendly it was. Everything about it, like setting up the first things. It's a self-contained unit. Great. For myself, the fact that there is a Quest 3 is the further commitment of like, no, like we like this space. We want to keep making it. And we want to try to figure out this this VR space in it. So seeing the Quest 3 come out, as well as like there's some, I think one's called like a Pico. There's like a couple little competitors that are also coming out as well. And if they can figure it out, I think we'd be all the better for it from a gaming perspective.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it's a good. When you mentioned PSVR, I'm like, is that our Virtual Boy? Is that like something that was like there? It, the execution wasn't great, but like they had early adopters that were all like they're deep into it, trying to get other people to buy it, and then it just kind of faded.
So people spend upwards of $3,000 on a decent driving simulator, right?
Right. Yeah.
And as best I've understood, Gran Turismo in VR is one of the greatest virtual reality experiences that has ever existed.
Oh, okay.
So if you kind of break down that cost, so if you buy the steering wheel for, I think one with force feedback is like $300. You buy a PS5 for...
They're on sale now, so you can actually find them.
But what do they run now? Like $600 still?
Yeah, $5.99, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, we'll call it six. So we have 300, 600, and then
Yep.
the PSVR unit itself. Like is that another 600 at this stage?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, God's sakes!
Yes,
all right.
it is, Trevor.
That's so hard to recommend.
It is because it is quite an investment, right? Just to even get up to something that you might want to play, and then add games on top of that. Which in Canada they're $90 now for any new release.
Oh, plus the game of it. Okay, so we are within the 2000 range.
Yeah, pretty quickly there.
But even still, it's sort of like, apparently, like if VR racing was your thing, it sounds about the easiest setup because with my PC, with my Quest 2, I have tried racing games and I can make it work and it's awesome. But the hassle, like the hassle, is crazy. As opposed to, I think the PSVR would have a bit more first-party, simple version of it.
Yeah,
So.
no, that's good. That's good.
Excited for the space. What can I tell you? I'm hopeful. Hey, gaming dads, do you like VR? Do you want to keep seeing this segment? Is it dead to you and you wish we never talk about it again? All of the above are fantastic answers. Reach out to us, newdadgaming.com and at newdadgaming. And that's how we'll end up the show there. So everybody, thank you so much for listening. Do reach out. Like talking to fellow gaming dads is one of the best parts. Again, thank you everyone who joined me on stream as I've been streaming Starfield. I think I might look to stream some Diablo 4 if I get back into it for the next season. Although I gotta try to finish Starfield. God help me at that point. But yeah, but at New Dad Gaming Podcast on Twitch and otherwise, as we mentioned, newdadgaming.com at newdadgaming. Really appreciate it. This podcast itself, if you liked it, you can find us on all the major podcast networks: Caster, Google Play, Spotify, iTunes, anywhere where you get your podcast. Search newdadgaming.com and subscribe. Even better, if you can beyond the subscription, if you can leave a rating and a comment, really helps boost the signal, gets this message out to other gaming dad VR enthusiasts, so we can spread the word and keep that poor segment alive.
That's right.
Everyone, thank you so much for listening. My name is Trevor. I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I don't have a Quest 3. Maybe one day. Trevor put it in my mind.
If I buy a 3, maybe that's the left move. I'll give you a 2.
Maybe that's the 2. Okay, you heard it here first. I do have a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and possibly a Quest 2. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see how the ad dollars roll.
That's right.
All right, thanks everybody. Remember, just because you became a dad
does not mean it's game over.
See you next week.
See you later.